and I ran to Petra. She was clasping her chest, and she was like, on a scale to 1 to 10, I'm having pain of a 10 plus. I need you to do treatment now. I got on my knees, for whatever reason, right there, and I went right to spiritual mind treatment, and I absolutely declared that that pressure, whatever it was releasing itself, it was letting go, whatever, and before I could even finish, she was like, it's at a 2. Even before I could get to, and so it is. It can happen instantly. So, notice, 911 and the prayer. We use it all.
So do you know you're part of our online community? Every time you watch us, you belong to CSL Dallas, and we're so happy that you're part of our community. And we love providing you this kind of spiritual message. So if you want to keep seeing this, please donate. You can donate at csldallas.org/give, or you can text 972-954-4404. Be part of our community and sit back and enjoy the message.
So today, I brought with me a magic box. Yes, it's a very magical, very special box. I brought it from home. This magical box was gifted to Petra and I on our wedding day. It's very priceless and magical. And the reason being is within this box is the one thing that absolutely, without a doubt, guaranteed, signed, sealed, and delivered to change your life in an instant, in a flash, in a moment's notice. If people really knew what was in this box and where this box was located every moment except for right now, they'd come try to steal it. Thank goodness my address is not publicly, I don't think, out there. They'd come to steal it. They'd try to copy it. They'd try to replicate it, whatever it took to make a lot of money off this, what's inside this box. Anybody want to come see what's inside the box? Who? Okay, Jim, I saw your hand first. Don't tell them. Ready?
Yep. Holy.
Oh,
That.
don't cuss real loud.
Holy wow. Holy wow. Very cool.
Okay,
Yeah, I've got it now.
good. All right. All right, I'm going to put the box back now. I know y'all want it, but I don't have time for everybody to come up and let you see what's inside this box. The great news is what's inside this box is something that we're going to be sharing and talking about all month. All right? It is the most incredible spiritual technology there is. It is the most scientific methodology you can use. So we've got the spiritual and we've got the science. It's the one thing and the only thing that our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, brought to humanity as an original thing. Everything else was copied and discerned. And so you can probably figure out what might be inside this box. And if you can't see it, let me help you. It's something that will absolutely fire up your life. It's spiritual mind treatment. Oh my goodness. Greatest thing I had no idea that this was something that I was going to get to learn about when I stepped into Science of Mind, since I had never heard of Dr. Ernest Holmes before, much less Science of Mind, 11 years ago. So the power of this and the great news about this, if there is anything, and I mean anything that is going on in your life that you seek to change and you want to change, this is the method. This is the method. for creating powerful changes in your life. And it doesn't matter how difficult, how big, how hopeless, how astronomical it may appear in this moment in your life or anyone else's life or the collective life. This spiritual technology shifts your mind, and it shifts it in the direction that you desire. That's the key. It shifts it in the direction that you desire. That's one of the main reasons why we only have one rule. You can shift it however, wherever, whenever you want in your mind. You can have anything you desire. You can have anything you want, as long as it harms no one. Say that with me. As long as it harms no one. And so spiritual mind treatment is about each of us becoming intimately involved in the creation of our own lives. Wow. So if this is true, and I declare it is so, do you think it would be worthwhile to spending a little bit of time learning how to use this spiritual technology, this scientific methodology, as best you can? Yes. Every time you want to participate with me today, you just go right ahead. You don't need my permission. Yes, so that Dale. Whatever class you can get into, and now we offer more free classes than ever before, starting this year. Whatever class you can get into, whatever activity there is that we discuss, and we discuss this spiritual technology a lot, so that you can understand it and use it. So Petra, Tracy, and I are going to be talking about it for these 4 Sundays, and we're going to build upon it in the month of October. The first place that I want to begin with is this is not a stereotypical form of prayer. Oh my goodness, when I started hearing about this in 2007, based upon my religious roots, I was like going, what? What are they talking about? It's not your typical form of prayer. There is no begging, there is no pleading, there is no wishing, there is no willing, there is no bargaining to this distant, far off God. That's where we begin in our awareness of this spiritual technology. I cannot begin to tell you how many times, up until 2007, how many times I begged to a God outside of myself in heaven. How much I beseeched, how much I pleaded with tears streaming down my face. God, please help me. I cannot tell you how many times I bargained with him. God, please, just this once, if you don't give me a cavity, I promise I'll brush my teeth and floss them from here on out. I promise, just tell me I have no cavities. I would bargain. You do this for me, I promise I'll be good. Well, spiritual mind treatment is neither wishing or wanting for anything or for something to happen. There is no bargaining to it. It is the affirmation of the presence. I'm affirming the presence. I'm affirming the power. I am affirming the willingness always of this divine law that is always present, that is there. I won't say waiting. It's just there to specialize it for me and for you, for each of us. And in doing so, God, Spirit, universal presence, meets every need. I do wish this was stolen, duplicated, cloned, etc., etc. Meets every need. So treatment is a way where we each can provide within ourselves, capital letters, an avenue through which it may happen. So why am I pounding on within ourselves? Ernest Holmes tells us why. Right before the chapter on prayer, chapter 9, in the Science of Mind, he says, through spiritual discernment, we see that we have within us a power which is greater than anything we shall ever contact. A power that can overcome every obstacle in our experience and set us safe, satisfied, and at peace, healed and prosperous in a new light and a new life. Quote, if God be for us, who can be against us? God's creative power of mind is right here. We have as much of this power to use as we believe in and embody. The storehouse of nature is filled with infinite good, awaiting the touch of our awakened thought to spring forth into manifestation in our lives. But the awakening must be within our thought. The word that we speak is the law of our lives, and nothing hinders its operation but ourselves. He continues, could we but comprehend the fact that there is a power that makes things directly out of itself by simply becoming the thing it makes? Could we but grasp this greatest truth about life and realize that we are dealing with a principle scientifically correct and eternally present, we could accomplish whatever it is possible for us to conceive. For life externalizes at the level of our own thought. So life externalizes at the level of our own thought. So Holmes is clearly telling us that the power is within each of us. We do not need to look outside ourselves for anything. We do not need to look to anyone else or anything for this power. Because God, Spirit, the thing itself, the universal presence, that creative power of mind is within us. So one of the key foundations of spiritual mind treatment is to know that thought is creative. That thought is creative. Holmes tells us that it is necessary that we be certain in our own minds that thought is creative, as upon this basis our entire superstructure rests. So everything about spiritual mind treatment, perhaps everything about science of mind, rests on the foundation that in our own minds, this thought is creative. Life externalizes, he says, at the level of our own thought. So the first time that I really had a true experience of this was, it started in foundations class. The very first class I took, as I started to understand this. And I was living in the Oakland Hills. Some of you might have heard this. I share this in foundations class. I was living in the Oakland Hills. I had a 100-foot sloped English garden that the prior owner took care of, and I wanted to continue to take care of as best I could, you know, from foxgloves to, oh my gosh, you just name it. Irises, it was something to be coveted, and I had this garden. And as I would go from my house to Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, back and forth, I would see something that I hadn't seen a lot of until I moved into the Oakland Hills, and that was orange California poppies. Anybody know California poppies? Yes. You know, they're actually protected. They're a protected wildflower in California. And I would notice on my drive to the center just how many California poppies were from my house to there. And one particular day, I happened to go to the back of the parking lot, and they had this, this big area that wasn't built upon on the property. And I looked out and I noticed all these orange California poppies. So I'd seen them on the drive and there at the back of the parking lot, and I started coveting them so much that I said, I want some of those California poppies in my garden, because I didn't have a one. In fact, I hadn't seen one in my neighborhood, only after I got out of the neighborhood. So there, I had railroad ties in this slope garden. I'll never forget it. I stood on a railroad tie, and I thought I'd test this thing out called spiritual mind treatment. I'd give it a whirl. They say it works. They tell me it works. And I was just learning this spiritual technology, and I thought, well, I'm going to try it on this. So I did. I stood there, and I spoke the word as best I knew how and said, California poppies in my garden right now. And I walked off. I didn't think a thing about it after that. I didn't. I think about a year later. I've been in that garden or looked at it or whatever. A year later, I was standing on that same railroad tie. I don't know how long they had been there. I really don't. But I noticed something. I noticed that there were orange California poppies everywhere in that garden. Yes, I didn't know how they got there. I didn't plant them. I don't know if a bird pooped them out while they were flying over. I don't know if a rabbit brought them in, a mole brought a seed in underground. I don't know. I have no idea to this day. But what I know is my garden was filled with California poppies, and my neighbors still didn't have them. But it was right there before my eyes. And on that day when I noticed this, that became my anchor, and still is, that if I ever doubt this spiritual technology and whether it works, I stand in that field of California poppies. I didn't need to know the how, I just know that it worked. Holmes tells us that treatment is the time, the process, and the method necessary of changing our own thought. So in that moment, standing on that railroad tie, whatever it was, I changed my thought from no poppies to poppies and garden. See? I believed it so much that it must go from the realness on the inside to the reality on the outside in the form of the flowers in the garden. And I didn't do a thing except for use my creative thought and the power within. So we're going to explore this thing called spiritual mind treatment. There are 5 steps. Now remember, there are 5 steps. Many of you know these steps, but you know what? I learned something new this week about one of them in the Wednesday night metaphysics class. Yes, Bert's giggling because I said, I've never heard that before. It's on camera. Dr. Peter taught something. I trust she'll say it again next week because I've asked her to. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never heard that before. But there are 5 steps. Now, it's a methodology. It's a methodology to get to our desired outcome. And Holmes was brilliant. Brilliant. He gave us 5 steps so that we each could learn how to follow them. Okay. I want to see if you're willing to confess. You know those Duncan Hines really rich dark chalk brownie mix boxes that are at Costco or wherever else, those rich dark chocolate brownie mixes? Who likes brownies? Everybody else, y'all are crazy. What's on the box? There are steps on how to come out with the perfect brownies. aren't there? Even if you're in high altitude, which we're not, clearly. It tells you where to set your oven. It tells you actually how to put the stuff, like mix first, then the egg, then the water, right? Grease the pan. I'm knowing somebody's going to make me brownies soon. I'm getting hungry. Grease, butter the pan, whatever, all of that. Pour it in, make sure it's all stirred up. Get the little fork, little clumps, make sure there's no clumps. You got me. But it's following the steps. If I forget the egg or decide I don't need the egg, I'm just going to leave it out. Or not any water. Or how about just leaving the mix out altogether? You see? You got the picture? It's this scientific methodology to get the desired outcome of those scrumptious, delicious brownies. And what they don't tell you is to make sure you take, anybody use the broom straw or the toothpick to make sure it's like really good in the middle? Oh, just me. That was my grandmother teaching me. Okay, so we have 5 steps. We have recognition, we have unification, we have realization, we have thanksgiving, and release. We're going to take all 5 of them this month. 5 steps. It's a scientific method to get us to where we want it to be. Treatment is the act, Ernest Holmes tells us, and the art and the science. The act, the art, and the science of specializing the universal law of mind for specific and individual purposes. And so it's the process. What some people don't realize or get, it's the process to actually convince my own mind that this is the truth. Now, sometimes for me, using these 5 steps, I can get to the truth, and I don't have to convince myself very much. Other times, it takes a lot of convincing of Karen's mind to say this is the truth. But it's the process to convince myself of the truth that I'm saying, within or without, meaning spoken or not. It's nothing else. And so when I get so self-convinced, and I know that there's no other possibility, that this is the only way, the only truth, then it goes from within to without. And it's this power, it's this presence of life itself, and it's always present. Another example that I remember so clearly, as if it was yesterday. It was hard only choosing 2 examples, just so you know. It was a couple of years ago, and I was upstairs in a meeting. And what was taking place, unbeknownst to me, is it was right before Petra moved out of her prior office, because I can feel what was taking place now. But what I didn't know is right in a particular moment, she was grasping her chest, and she was holding it really hard. And Bibi was nearby. She yelled for Bibi, and she told her 2 things. She said, call 911, get an ambulance now, and get Karen. So somebody came and said, Karen, you got to come now. Thank God I didn't sit there, well, I'm in this meeting, you can't take me out of it, whatever. And it was like, now. And I ran to Petra. She was clasping her chest, and she was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm having pain of a 10 plus. I need you to do treatment now. I got on my knees, for whatever reason, right there. And I went right to spiritual mind treatment, and I absolutely declared that pressure, whatever it was releasing itself. It was letting go, whatever. And before I could even finish, she was like, it's at a 2. Even before I could get to, and so it is. It can happen instantly. So notice 911 and the prayer. We use it all. So when you do treatment, this act takes place in the infinite mind, not the individual Karen Fry mind. It's taking place in this infinite mind. And the infinite mind, Ernest Holmes tells us, is the actor, meaning it acts it out. And you are the one who's choosing what is acted out. You're the chooser. So you declare what is best. You get to declare. You have the right to declare it, he tells us. And the infinite mind must carry it out. So I would like for you to repeat after me that I declare it so. I declare it so. You have the right, so I want you to say it again. I declare it so. Yes. He tells us that one treatment would heal anything, if it were not for the fact that people are constantly receiving false suggestions from the outer life. As it now stands, we should treat until we get results, always expecting that it will happen at once. Every treatment should be complete, and at the close, we should always realize that it is done. I declare it so, and so it is. Don't be concerned if you don't know everything about this spiritual technology or methodology right now. I brought one of my favorite friends because this friend and I spend a lot of time together. When I first got one of these, I had been using PCs, but then I got this thing called a Mac. Once you go Mac, you never go back, just so you know. But when I first got one of these, this great technology, I didn't know how to use it completely. I knew how to open it up and turn it on. That's really all I knew. I didn't take, classes before I started using it. And this is a powerful technology. So I started using it right away, and you know what? It worked right away. It worked as soon as I turned it on. And then the more I used it, the more I got to understand how powerful this technology is. The more I used it, the more efficient I got at using it. The more I didn't have to think about it as much. And the more and the more and the more I use it, and by the way, I keep upgrading the technology, though I will dare say I'm not sure the universal presence can be upgraded, but maybe so. I don't know. But the more I use this, you get the point, the more it works. It's brilliant. It's the same thing with this spiritual technology known as spiritual mind treatment. This scientific methodology. Don't be afraid to use it. Start using it. If there's something in your life that you want to change, use it. If there's something in your life that you want to change and you're not quite sure you can get there, use a practitioner, use a minister, use someone else in here that's taken the classes and has been using it. Shift your mind in the direction you desire. Use it for yourself. Use it for everything because it works. I declare it so. And so it is.